Anything just generally that you wanted to pass along to us before we got in some more
Voter
specifics?
ID will start June the 4th with voter ID. We have hired the head of our voting ID provision, which we'll be releasing shortly, hopefully before you do. But if we can do that this time, but I think you'd be very pleased. We are reaching out, and we will also have members of the Election Commission and former circuit clerks working on reaching out to get these IDs out to these people. We are in the process of signing our contract for the actual cards themselves, and we're down to 2 or 3 drafts that I'm supposed to approve this week. We've signed our agreement with MDOT to provide free transportation. We've signed our agreement with the Health Service to provide free verification of birth certificates for Mississippi and 45 other states. We're doing all the things I think that would make us pass constitutional muster for that. I did, on that issue, I took a totally different view from Texas. And I know Texas A&M is coming here this weekend, and hopefully they'll go home with 1 loss more than they have. But what I did in Texas, when the Supreme Court decision came out, they said we're going ahead even though we have lost a case and we didn't get pre-cleared, we're going on and instituting voter ID today.
Mm-hmm.
I took the opposite approach. I called the head of the Civil Rights Division that day and told him I was leaving the regulations open. And if the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department had anything to say in Mississippi about our regulations, which he had, proposals, all of this was laid out to them, then he should contact me and we would be amenable. And there were 2 minor things that he gave that we did amend our regulations for. I did that for 2 reasons, 2 or 3 reasons. One is Mississippi needs to pass constitutional muster. 2, I don't want to be the federal government suing us and spending a bunch of money in court with the Justice Department. I opened to them, if you have any comment, you've got all of my stuff here, just tell us what you think would be helpful so that you don't have to come sue me next year over this matter, and we get it right the first time. And I thought that was really important. I thought the economics of it, the Constitution, the way Mississippians look at themselves about how this is going to be instituted in Mississippi. I've already had calls from Gannett and Washington and all this other. They sued North Carolina. The Justice Department sued North Carolina, sued Texas, sued South Carolina, sued just about everybody. But I wanted to make it very difficult for them to sue Mississippi.
North Carolina, do they have basically the same law that Texas has?
Close, but they removed early voting from them. They had several other things they did, but their voter ID regulations are not nearly as good as ours.
They're more stringent. I mean, they don't accept a lot of the IDs.
They don't, and we included some of the things like a W-2 form from a Mississippi employer and others. We included some of the suggestions I had heard because I felt that would qualify. We have a broader base, but what we really have that's better than them is an outreach program where we have in 92 locations across Mississippi. 99% of Mississippians are within 20 miles of a circuit clerk's office. 99% of them. So we have an outreach program that's far superior to any one that's ever been devised by anybody else doing this. And I think that'll end up really making the difference, where we can show that we went for this 1% or so that's out there that may not have an ID. And I thought that was critical. It's critical for a lot of reasons. First, most important is that we feel good about ourselves. We didn't leave anybody out, that we did it right. We got to look in the mirror every day that we did it right. We're not going to be discriminatory against minorities. It's against the Constitution in addition to the Voting Rights Act. So we're not going to do that. And the second thing, I wanted to make sure that we stood any challenge from the Justice Department or anybody else about our constitutionality. Then the third thing, I clearly realized Mississippi is going to be the forefront of voter ID. They're going to look at us for that one case, that one instance in which we were unable to allow somebody to vote. And so it's very important to me that they not find that person and that we work as hard as we can not to have that occur. So we realize we have a national spotlight, and we realize we have work to do, and we realize we have a history. But we're not going to have that history repeated.